Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review episode 98. Excuse me. Yes, the last video came out just almost 4 months ago. But if you think about it, the actual one to talk about regular episode of this thing was basically 6 months, about 5 months ago. Yeah, basically about 4 to 5 months. That was a lot. The last official video that was released was on Ryushu Kamen Rider. That was back in May. That was almost 4 months ago. But the last time I reviewed anything related to the main series, that was back in April. So it's been that long since I reviewed anything. As I mentioned, basically, when I came back, I mentioned this back, I think it was in 96, I think it was, and yes, I'm still counting 97, it's a spoiler review of a recent release Kamen Rider movie. This is reviewing the penultimate series under the Showa era, Kamen Rider Black. Here we're discussing the first two episodes. Yes, I do know about the sneak preview, basically, movie they had. I watched it and I got really bored because I wanted to get to the main action. So I just decided to stop watching after 5 minutes. Because all it was doing was spoiling the first episode. Yeah. So, yes, I do know about the This is Kamen Rider Black special, but I have decided to skip it because all it is, like I said, it's just a preview. Now, in the first two episodes, we're introduced to the world of basically we have here Kamen Rider Black. There is no mention of the previous Kamen Riders. As a matter of fact, this Kamen Rider has got no mentor. He does have a recurring cast. Yes. Now, basically, the first episode starts off. Well, first you have the opening sound stick, which it shows off the Kamen Rider Black suit, which is this right here. Yeah, this is an ad from Indonesia, basically, that it was released at the time. Now, you may notice a symbol on this chest. You're probably thinking, wait, wasn't that also saying usually used for Mass Rider in the 90s? Well, that's because I took from the sequel. That's where it came from. Now, the suit itself, one can tell, it's basically harkening back to the original Kamen Rider suit, but this is more black and a little bit like a gold trim of color. The eyes are basically like the original Kamen Rider. But it's got a much bigger mouth, per se. But it's back to the old classic grasshopper look that they have not had in probably quite a while, per se. Yeah. Though this was the first original Kamen Rider release since they had the 10th one, which had its own movie, which was supposed to lead to a TV show, which they declined to do. Because it left open to a sequel. But if you wonder what happened to Banana Empire, you have to basically you have to watch it when they came out in the 2000s to figure out what the heck happened, because we don't get proper clues. As a matter of fact, in case you're curious, so any of the previous Kamen Riders show up in the show? Nope, they don't. They don't show up until the sequel series, which I will be discussing that next after I finish this one. Now, we start with the main story here. We have, it's kind of basically been flashed back and forth with basically. The way the series goes, of how Kamen Rider got the way he is, they kind of explain in episode 2, which that's something they pulled from Kamen Rider Stronger. Okay. Now, basically, you see him, by the way, the main character, his name, the guy who is the Kamen Rider Black, his name is Kotaro Minami. That's his name. And you see him running to the streets, I think it's Tokyo, and he's chased by 3 people clad in white. These are the priests of an organization known as Goldum. Gorgal, that's the name. There's also mention about the Century King Black Sun. Like Century King's Black Sun, that's referred to Kamen Rider Black as. If you're curious about the Creation King, from what I read, he does not show up until toward the end of the series. But I'll get to him. Don't worry. So, they're not listed by name here, but names are Durham, Byram, and Busham. Those are the 3 you have to start with here. Now, there are some issues just in the first couple episodes. There is Razaro Sekataya, Karochi Ogami. The first one is basically a politician. The second one is a financial whiz. Hidemi Katsuru uh, is in the opening episode, but he doesn't. I don't remember seeing what he does in the episode. There's also Yuri Takazaki, who's an actress who sadly dies in her debut episode. And I'll get to that. And that's all we're introduced to just in the opening. Well, there's also their mutants. Surprisingly, this organization is the first one I could think of for Kamen Rider history to not have a grunt organization, to have grunts working them. Which is strange, because this is something associated with, I would say, what I saw in Kuga. So the first monster we see in the first episode of Spider-Man, but we'll get to that. So he's basically running from them, basically chasing around like through a parking lot, through a tunnel, eventually leads to a roof, where they show the fact he's not human anymore, and he's up against a wall, and then eventually they try to fly with to complete the surgery. The surgery showed in a flashback briefly in the episode. The completed surgery to turn himself full into a cyborg is to erase his memories. Which I'm like, that's something similar to what they did with the first two Kamen Riders, with the brain alteration surgery. So, and we see it look like his father, which turns out that's actually not his biological father, it's actually his stepfather, because his father died. Well, it gets that. So, you see him where he looks like he's altered, and basically he escapes somehow, which they don't show it here. So then he gets shoved in the building, transformed into Kamen Rider Black, like looks like he turns some other form, and he turns into what we see for Kamen Rider Black, and the priests run away, and then we see Battle Hopper, his motorcycle, make its debut. Which, if you're curious though, is this the same type of motorcycle we saw in Masked Rider? Yes, but it got different design, and it was basically created on different means. This one was completely like, it shows up randomly. It's showing a flashback, and the priest created this motorcycle for him. Yes. So, then of course, basically goes see his. And right after this, he goes to his house, where it's a very nice looking house that looks like someone would look like, basically like someone that's got a very stable office job, mostly, at least someone who's semi-rich, and he's living there with his adopted sister. Whose name is Kikyo Akizaki. That is her name. And there's also... No, not that one. Kasami Kita. Yeah, she was basically an assistant to the doctor, which I'll get to that. So, they show him off here, and of course he's had to leave because apparently the house is not safe. So they go to this abandoned warehouse, and you're thinking, wait, an abandoned warehouse, and there's spiders all the place. We also see a bat mutant who doesn't do anything in this episode. By the way, the bat mutant is actually here for the whole series, which is shocking because normally have bat mutants, or these bat monsters in Kamen Rider. With the exception of the Kuga, at this point in time, they're usually here for like one episode, they get killed off. This isn't even find this episode. So basically he explains what exactly is going on. What is Goldem? It's an organization he joined in exchange for money for searching for artifacts. And his father, well, the main character's father, because this guy is not actually his actual father, it's his stepfather. They're more like he just adopted him. Yeah, it's more like he adopted him. Because apparently his parents died in a mysterious accident. Well, they don't explain exactly what happened to his mother. They say his father we rejected the organization, and he just died in mysterious circumstances. And because he was greedy. And of course, basically, it seems like he was raised normally. You have two brothers, two people raised like brothers, no problem. And both the same exact age, because both born the same day. The brother's name, if you're really curious though, his name is Nabakako Akazaki, who is basically Kikyo's brother. That is her brother. So, yeah, you see him briefly here in flashback, and then you see him next episode where he's like being supposedly this is going to be the new something called the Shadow Moon, which is something we'll explore later. Which I do appreciate the fact they're hitting some stuff for later. So it's showing a flashback here that he had him and his adopted brother had their 19th birthday. Had this one party. We introduced all these other characters in episode 2. Oh, by the way, what happened to his adopted father in the first episode? He gets killed by some spider mutants, which of course basically they tie him up and they basically drop off a freaking tower. What you thinking? Wait, webbed up and involve somebody who's like a father figure to a girl, who's a father to a girl. Like, yeah, that is a callback to the original Kamen Rider series, which they also decided to reuse that plot thread for an episode of Kamen Rider V3. At least got handed the fact, at least they waited longer than V3, which is only just 2 years. Here, basically, since that episode, at this point, it had been 16 years since the first episode of the original Kamen Rider series, which, good on that part. Oh, the air date. Forgot to mention this. October 4th, 1987, included in on October 9th, 1988. So yes, one of the episodes actually aired pretty much just gnawing out there was born. Yeah. So after he dies, the woman who's there now, of course, the younger girl Kiko, she's obviously given the fact her father was just murdered. The woman who's there doesn't show much emotion. Doesn't like she's shocked at the fact that he died, but she's not like overly grieving over him. And of course, I'm back in Norway. And of course, then we have where the very next episode, which before I get to the present day stuff, when they explain like there's a birthday party, and of course where there's all these famous people, and Hidomi, actually, it was Yukari. She mentions about basically this like possibly chosen ones on the 19th birthday. Doesn't go into much detail, but apparently this gave cause for her to be murdered by the leopard mutant. Yes, seriously. So, Black oversees a visit at her apartment. How the heck he found out where her apartment is never explained. He probably found it out probably because maybe it was his father, probably because it was his adopted father's phone book. That is possible. So, go see her in her nice apartment. Now, this is the 80s mostly. This is the late 80s where everything was so awesome looking. Like, I love looking at this apartment. It's like such a nice looking apartment. He goes see the apartment. And like he knocks the door, nobody answers, and he opens the door, there's a chain on the door, and he looks at it like, oh crap, the place has been searched. Yeah, it's been searched. So he looks around, doesn't from what I can tell, he doesn't touch anything. The only thing he touches is a door. He does know the door is covered look like something in blood and scratch marks. Like claw marks. Like, what the heck is up with that? He opens the door and he sees the actress dead in her bed with slash marks like she's been silenced because they have like claw marks right her neck. And then the leopard mutant proceeds to attack him. Attacking the apartment, chasing all around. And eventually Black does finally kill him. After, of course, he gets thrown out a window. And also, prior to this, basically, he had worked with Kiko because they can't exactly stay at the house because it's not safe. Not sure. My only guess is the reason why it's not safe because Golem knows where the house is. That's probably the reason for it. So they go to stay at a friend of his who makes his debut in this very episode. Let's see if we can find him here. No, not that one. Here he is. Masuro Toto, who's an old friend of his, is basically a senpai. Looks like they're in like a juice bar or something, and of course they decide to stay there. And of course they have separate rooms, and of course Kiko works there. Look like a waitress or at least like a bartender, while he goes out basically does other stuff. And this is basically a good way to stop here because it seems as though you watch these 2 episodes. It seems like we get basically the start and basically a lot of the stuff with the big plot threads we're going to explore throughout the entirety of Kamen Rider Black. Now, my original plan was for when I did the break, I was going to do a 25 or 26. So I figured though, why not do a 30? Because basically it's a 50 episode series. I've done it before with a few others. I did it with Skyrider. I did it with well, not with Super One per se. I did it with this is only the 3rd time I'm doing this. where I take the break with the series, episode 30. Like first with V3, and then I did with Skyrider, and now I'm doing with this one. So I figured why not. This one I come back, I only have 21 more episodes left to go, and then basically I'll be done. But I thoroughly enjoyed the start of the series. I thought the start was really good. We get basically explanation of how the Kamen Rider got his powers, his motorcycle, like lots of. You can think of these 2 episodes as setup, like start and setup for the main series. Now, like I mentioned, there's no mention of the Kamen Riders at all. One thing I noticed that this one's shot way differently than it was with Super 1. I do mean way differently. Yeah, it looks a bit darker in tone. I have heard this is a bit of an underrated series because it's not as, let's say, as popular as the other ones were. But it did get a modern day remake in the 2000s called Kamen Rider Black Sun, which I may get to eventually. But I like this. I really do. Good thing I'm taking forward this one for quite a while. Okay, so that's episode of the next episode going to be a Comic Corner, and then I might get time to do one more before I go off to Family Expo today. Yeah, that might be it. Because probably a holiday afterwards. Okay, thanks for you. Bye.